What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. I am that dude, and of course tonight is the big night. Yankee Nation, stand up. Game of the night, and yes, I think the Yankees are going to win. I think they're going to win the World Series and everything else. If you haven't watched my playoff video, feel free to do so after this video. We have a lot to get into with this week 6 of college football. We have the official plays, games of the week, some pretty sketchy plays, and then we'll go over the record that we have so far this year. So be sure to stick around, and let's jump right into the video. All right, y'all, so really quickly, question of the day. Who do you think is going to win between the matchup, Auburn or Florida? Auburn's playing at Florida, giving 3 points. It's going to be a good game. Auburn, they have a tough schedule, to say the least. So who do you think is going to win, Auburn or Florida? Drop it down below in the comments and let me know why. So last week, if I must say, we killed it. We went 4-1, and I'm going to go over those games. Got our record back on the right track. Going into last week, we were 10-8, and now we are 14-9 in college football throughout this season. Texas Tech was playing at Oklahoma, getting 27 points. We picked Oklahoma. That cashed easily. Iowa minus 23 against Middle Tennessee. Cash. Wisconsin was the only game that we messed up on, and I think it was a large part to their uniforms were terrible. Northwestern played a good game, kind of tried to figure it out, and Wisconsin didn't look very good. They got the win. Jonathan Taylor didn't do much in that game at all. That was our one loss all weekend. USC at Washington. Washington took care of business with minus 10.5. We took that, and then we took the game of the week. Game day, which I didn't think it was really that much of a game of the week. Ohio State, minus 17. They covered that basically in the first quarter and never looked back. The Cornhuskers didn't even deserve to be on the same field as Ohio State and Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a baller, and I've been saying that for years. I told Georgia fans that, and I will continue to say that throughout this year probably. Next week, just so you know, I'm going to have my official rankings come out for college football because there's a lot of good teams this year. I'm going to let you kind of know the way I would rank them, and I'm also going to let you know my top quarterbacks in the league, in college football, I should say, because I think there's a lot of good talent out there. I think we should start talking about it a little more. So those were my plays of last week. Again, we went 4-1, solid, love it. Now let's talk about a little game of the week, games that I'm looking forward to going into this week. So like I mentioned, we have the Auburn Tigers playing another big game in Florida, at Florida, and they are giving 3 points. That's going to be a great game. The Swamp is going to be live. Florida is about to go through a gauntlet of their schedule as well. So both of these teams need this win. They're both undefeated. It's a top 10 matchup. I believe Florida's number 10. Auburn's number 6 or 7, depending on which rankings you look at. That's going to be a game to watch, and I can't wait to see who wins that game and what those teams look like. Bo Nix looked amazing last week. I'll say it. They really came out ready to play, and they've been impressive so far this year. As much as I would not like to say it, I'm going to keep it real with you all, and hopefully you'll drop a like on this video because I am not being just a Bama homer. Okay, so my next game of the week is Iowa at Michigan, and I don't really care about this game, but I do think it's something to talk about. Michigan, they're going to try to prove themselves. They're actually giving points, 3.5 to Iowa. I think the wrong team may be favored in that game, but, Vegas, they know what they're doing, to say the least. The lights don't go off in Vegas. Iowa, their defense is real. This is a game that Michigan is either going to prove that they're actually decent or that they are nothing at all. And that's kind of what I'm looking at. Harbaugh has to win this game. It seems like every game now for Michigan is just they must win type games. And then another game, Michigan State playing at Ohio State. Ohio State has been absolutely flawless this year so far, and we are going to see if they can continue that trend. I think that's going to be a really good game. It is a conference game, so something to look at. And then Cal at Oregon, another conference game. Another game, I actually have a play on this game, so I'm not going to get into that one that much right now. And then Washington at Stanford, another conference game. Pac-12 after dark. And I think that this is going to be a game that is pretty fun to watch. We're going to see what Eason is all about. Stanford defense is okay. And I feel like it's a spot where Washington needs this game. Stanford really needs this game. And I actually have a play on that one as well. So jumping right from that into our plays of the week, let's go ahead and hash them out. You have TCU playing at Iowa State. I think that this is a good spot for us to jump on Iowa State, laying 3 points at home. This is a spot where they are going to come back. They've been up and down throughout this year, especially in the past couple of weeks. I think this is a good spot. Iowa State, I like what they're doing. I like their quarterback, and I think TCU is a little bit overvalued coming into this week's matchup. The next game that I want to look at is Troy, Alabama. Alabama's little brother, I should say. Auburn's really our little brother, but Troy University playing at Mizzou. SEC opponent. Troy is usually okay in these spots, and I think that 24.5 points is a little bit too much to give a Troy team that can score. I don't think Missouri is going to be caring about this game that much. Let me go ahead and say that. And that's kind of why I'm kind of leaning towards playing this game, playing Missouri, and laying the 24 points. I am personally on Troy right here. I think that's a lot of points. And I see Missouri winning this game, obviously, but give me the points, and let's see what happens with the Troy team that can compete with SEC talent. Next is the Cal game that I mentioned earlier. Cal at Oregon, minus 18 points. Give me all of Oregon. Justin Herbert and that offense has looked really good. This is another spot where I think that they are going to flourish. And I think if Cal, check this before the game starts. I believe Cal is going to be starting their third-string quarterback. He's going to be playing again in this game. Monster. He's terrible. I don't see them winning many games with him. Their defense is okay, but they haven't really played a offense like Oregon just yet. I think 18 points, I think you're going to be okay laying that number against this Cal defense. So go ahead and do that. Give me Oregon at minus 18 points. And then my next play is Tulsa, minus 13, playing at an SMU team that has been really good so far this year. I think that they're a little bit overrated. They're number 24 in the nation right now. They're undefeated, and I get it. Let's give them some respect. But who have they really beat? They beat South Florida, which could be one of the worst teams in college football. Side note, South Florida is laying 11 points this weekend. I don't know how anyone could lay points with South Florida. That team is awful. I don't know how confident you could be doing that. And 11 points, that's a pretty steep number in general. So, but anyways, looking at SMU's record and who they've beat. SMU has beat South Florida, TCU, Texas State, North Texas, and then Arkansas State. So, yes, it is somewhat in their classification, if you want to say that, and they are undefeated. I get that. But this Tulsa team is a good team. They competed pretty good against Oklahoma State 2 weeks ago. They played Michigan State already, so their record may not look that good. But 13 points is a little bit too many, in my opinion, for SMU to be laying. Give me Tulsa and those points. Last but not least, for my fifth play this weekend, Give me Washington minus 16.5 points against Stanford. I think Eason and that offense is really good. Similar situation to Oregon. I think Stanford's going to be playing another backup quarterback, and he's not that great. So that's kind of why I'm looking at that. This is a big game for Washington. They're wanting to get to Oregon. That Oregon versus Washington game, going to be phenomenal, to say the least. And I can't wait for that. So give me Washington. I'll lay those points. And then now, let's talk about some sketchy plays of the weekend. In my opinion, this is also another game that I think is, one of the games of the week, but it's going to be playing tonight, which no one's going to be watching it because they're all going to be watching my Yankees play. So, but Cincinnati at home, they've painted their field. They did whatever to their field playing Central Florida. It's going to be a really good game. Cincinnati on those Friday night games, it's different. Friday night games, regardless, are very different. This is one of my sketchy plays. This is one of my underdog moneyline outright winners in Cincinnati. I would not be surprised if we see Cincinnati, the Bearcats, beat Central Florida this weekend at home on a Friday night. And then another sketchy play would be Iowa at Michigan State. I've talked about this game already. I do think it's very sketchy, though. Michigan State, minus 3.5. Like I said, I think the wrong team is favored in this spot. But Vegas usually doesn't mess up in this spot. I'll say that again. So that's why it's kind of a sketchy play. That's why I'm kind of staying away from it. And then going to give you some teams that I would just take the points and run with it. You have Michigan State getting 20 points at Ohio State. I get it. Ohio State has been amazing. And they've been absolutely amazing, to say the least. But this is still a rivalry game, and this is still a game that means a lot to both organizations. I feel 20 points is a lot. I feel that they keep it within 17 points-ish. I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State blows them out, but Ohio State has to come down to earth somewhere. And if they beat them by 20 points, that's when I'm really looking at Ohio State as being a true contender. I already look at them as a contender, but being a true contender for that national championship spot. And, that's just something that I'm looking at. That's how I'm looking at this game. And then Troy, I've already mentioned it as a play. They're getting 24.5 points. That's a lot of points, and I like it. So that's kind of some teams that I would just take the points or don't play it at all. And that's, just my opinion. And then with that Ohio State game again, that's kind of one of these spots where you look at a lot of these conference games. It's a Big Ten matchup. SEC, when it's SEC versus SEC and it's a rivalry game and you're looking at 17 points, it's usually closer than that. It's just something that you always have to look at. And that's what I'm looking at. That's kind of where my mind is at going into this weekend. With that being said, it's going to be a great weekend of college football. I hope you already watched my NFL video that I dropped yesterday. And, obviously you have this one today. Let me know what you think, Auburn or Florida this weekend. Also, if you have a play of the week that you feel really confident on, drop it down below. That way everyone can see it. But also, that way we can keep up with our records and, have a little bragging rights, have a little confidence points or whatever you want to call it on the channel. Again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, like the video, and don't forget to come back next week as we go through our rankings for teams, quarterbacks. Probably have an MLB video out again next week as well with the MLB playoffs here and everything. So be sure to stick around. Thanks for watching the video. Peace. Carson, you got anything to say?
It's definitely not Iowa. It's Iowa.
Question of the day, is it Iowa or Iowa?
Question of the day, is it?
No, you did not say it. You said Iowa. You just made up a new state.